Hi guys, so welcome. We are in the week 5 now of our course. So in this week we'll be looking at wireframing to high fidelity UI. We'll be covering wireframing to high fidelity UI. So what will be our objective? Understand the difference between wireframes and high fidelity UI, and then create functional low fidelity wireframes that focus on structure, and then apply visual design principles to convert wireframes to UI mockups. Also understand color, typography, spacing, and icon usage in UI. And then the last is to present high fidelity mockups that are clear, consistent, and pixel perfect. So this will be our objective for this week. So let's proceed. Wireframes are dealing with just skeletal. Is more like you just sketching your layout of your design. Just want to know how things would be structured and then understanding the flow, not really bothering yourself with too much details. High fidelity UI is the opposite. So high fidelity UI is your fully designed version with brand colors, with icons, with real text, with spacing and visuals. It is the full version of your design, not the sketch again. You are moving from just sketching the layout of the screen to getting that screen fully ready for development. So these are two opposites. This is more of you trying to sketch and understand how you would structure things first, and then this is you converting that your structure and moving to a full scale design. So let's look at their difference, wireframe and high fidelity. So in the features, you see that for colors, for wireframes, you do mostly black, white, and gray, because you are not bothering yourself with the color yet. You are not implementing the brand color for that design. So it could just be black text or black box or white box or gray box. So these are like major colors that you would see on low fidelity or wireframe design. So while in its rival, which is the high fidelity UI, you would see the full brand color. Dealing with color palette, you see the full brand color. Then in topography, in wireframes, it's just placeholder. Some wireframes you wouldn't see any topography, and you could even use maybe a very slim rectangle shape to just represent a text. You understand what it is. This is more like you sketching. Wireframe is more like you sketching, right? But in high fidelity UI, of course, you will see the exact fonts you are supposed to use for that screen. You would see the font weight, the size, and everything. The font style will come in full. So in images and icon under wireframe, images and you won't even see an image because it will be a long procedure. You are just trying to sketch. So you trying to import image to the section or the card will take a lot of time. You can just do a rectangle, and you of course know that rectangle it's an image placeholder. So you use things like boxes and placeholders to represent image and icons, right? But in high fidelity, it is the final asset. If you are supposed to use an image that shows a house, you would actually insert that image and import it to your design. If you are supposed to use an icon that shows a password lock icon, you have to insert that asset to use. So in wireframe, you are just using boxes to depict or to represent these items, but in high fidelity UI, you are using the exact elements. Now this is low fidelity, while this is high. So these are like the major differences you see in wireframe and in high fidelity UI. So let's see some examples now. So This is also a wireframe. This is like the base level wireframe design. Now you notice this is done manually with your hand, even though they are digital um, platforms where you could sketch, but these people just use plain paper. You can just get your plain paper, get your marker, and then you sketch very fast, no wasting time. Because this is just the beginner stage, this is the preliminary level of your design. You don't need to start wasting time on UI and making it look so fine and fancy. What you are concerned here is laying the foundation and getting your screen structure, getting the structure and the layout of your screen. So this could be like the home screen. You know, you want to have cards here, and these cards should be slidable. So you see it overflows to the right, indicating that you can slide, and there are more contents that are hidden here that you can access. You also have maybe a longer card here that probably you'd share into two, one third, and then the small part will be text, the upper part will be maybe an image. So you are just doing this quickly to just get the layout and the structure. Maybe you have this also, maybe an image is here, and then you have some write-up that describes this image or whatever. So you could see that this is just wireframe. This is just quick. You're having a skeletal form of a layout. This might be the profile. This is the profile picture. This is the user details, and these are maybe some other information of the user. So you could see this might be like the setting tab. You see the user profile shows a little maybe security settings, notifications, and other items that you can see here. This could be probably maybe a checkout screen or whatever, maybe a transaction successful, and then you get a success toast. For successful, you get this icon. So this is just quick. So this is what we call a low fidelity wireframe, just quick. Now you can step this up by having something like this. Now in this screen we are seeing a low fidelity and a high fidelity, but let's deal with this. You see this has a little difference. This is also very quick. Now this is something you do with your pen and paper, right? You just sketch. Is the same thing as this. Maybe I just know that I would have a text here, and I just put a rectangle to depict, or there will be a text here, there will be maybe a profile picture here, I want a search bar here, I want I want maybe an icon to filter here, and then I want to display cards. Let's say I'm designing for a rental company. So this is an application where you can rent properties, right? So this is my home page, and I have my navigation menu here for the home page. This is a clear, simple, straightforward, low fidelity wireframe. So this just gives me the overall idea of how the home page will be structured. It is after I've done this and I'm okay with it, I've done my changes of the flow and I'm satisfied, then I begin to develop this. So you see, from this low fidelity now, you could convert it to this. So can you just see that this represents this? This is the low fidelity version, and this right here is the high fidelity version. So you see here, I want my text, here is an icon, this place I want the profile picture. In high fidelity, you see you have to put the things, the assets as it is, as you want it to be developed. Now this is my search input field. You need to develop everything. You insert the icon, you insert the placeholder, search for property. This is my filter button. You need to put everything and put the icon to show how you want it to be. Now you see how this card has been developed, but here I just have the structure that I want my cards to be like this. I want it to be two in a row, and then it will go down. So here I begin to work on it and develop the card. I want the upper portion of the card to have the image of the property. I want an icon for users to like or favorite this property, and then I want the properties details here, the name of the title, property title, the rent, and then if it is yearly, and then the location. You see the icon is here, the location of this property is here. This is how you move from low fidelity to high fidelity. You begin to develop each and every of the elements one after the other. So this is a perfect example of a low fidelity UI and a high fidelity UI. This gives you the overall structure and this gives you the exact image, right? So let's move and see how we can follow like a step-by-step process on how we can start with this and end up with this. We will see that those steps, and then at the end of the day we will try to follow those steps and do a practical design for this concept we're seeing here. So the design steps moving from wireframe to high fidelity UI. What is the first step? The first step is to start with your wireframe in Figma. Just like this, you start with your wireframe in Figma, not concerned or bothered with what's the color of this text I'll put here. No, just start with your wireframe, low fidelity design in Figma, right? And then the second step is to apply grid and spacing. So when you do that, you begin to apply grid and spacing. You begin to figure out what will be the spacing from the header, the title of the page, to the next element. What will be the spacing from the next element to the other element. You clearly begin to apply your grid to the frame, and then you apply your spacing system to space things up and have the layout properly structured. So the next step you will take is you begin to add color styles and typography styles, right? So when you have your low fidelity UI, when you have a place that you have a text, you begin to bring those things to life. If you have a rectangle, a slim rectangle to represent the text now, you will change it and put an actual text there, and you put the text color. You begin to apply the text color. If it is blue, if it is red, if it is pink, if it is purple, green, black, whatever, depending on the brand, color and asset, right? And then your typography style also. What font are you using for the project? Whatever the font is, you begin to apply that. So that's the next step you take. Now after that, what do? You begin to replace placeholders with actual content, just like what we have here. This is a placeholder to depict it has a card, right? Or this is also another placeholder to depict this is a profile picture. But if you are moving, you now need to start replacing that to the actual profile picture. So this is also an example of a placeholder to depict, oh, I want a button for filtering these properties to be here. But you saying this, you might not know, but me as the designer, I know exactly what I want here because this is my design, this is my sketch. But while I am moving to high fidelity, I need to replace it with the actual element. So that is what the step 4 is saying. Replace placeholders with actual content, just like we have in the cards and the rest of them. So the next step, which is step 5, it is to add buttons, images and icons. It's almost repeating this step. Where you have buttons, you add actual buttons. Where you have images placeholder, you add actual images into it. There are designs that we need to add images, and then there are designs that we need to add icons. Whatever the case may be, you add the actual asset and then the actual content for that. It could be buttons, could be images, could be videos, could be GIF file, it could be icons and the rest of them. And then the next step, which is the finishing, is step 6. You polish your alignment, you check your padding if they are proper, and then you check hierarchy. Maybe when everything has come to life, you might notice, oh, I probably do not like the spacing between this card and this card. It might look okay here, but by the time everything has come together, you might say, let me increase the spacing, or let me bring it more closer, or this. So you just do a general, you take a general view of the whole design, and then you make a judgment based on the current state when you have substituted all the placeholders for the actual element. So that is the last thing you do, and then you begin to tidy things up. You check your padding, you check the gap between each element, if they are proper and if they look pleasing and appealing to the eyes, right? When you check that and everything is fine, then you are good to go. So let's do a practical now. Let's follow each and every of this step to start with a low fidelity design, a wireframe, and then we'll move it to a high fidelity design. Let's apply these steps and this rule and see how it comes very quickly. I don't want to waste much time having a design off my head, so we are going to use these guys here as a reference, right? We are going to use this guy here as a reference. So let's bring out our frame. I pressed shortcut F, then I'm going to use the iPhone, which will I use? iPhone 14 Plus, right? Remove this icon. We are going to make use of this later. So I bring my iPhone 14 Plus. I'm going to imitate this design, so we just go straight to it, right? So for that, I would need, I'm going to be stealing some items here though, but I'll show us how we can get these things too. We still have a section for mobile design, like a complete mobile design and web. So I'm not going to waste too much time doing a lot of formalities here, because we have a section where we'll cover that in our next lesson. I guess we'll cover that. So let's just go into it. Start with your wireframe in Figma. So we are in Figma, and then we have our frame. So for this, we know we want a text here, so I'm just going to put a rectangle. I'm going to give it a fill and then give it a color that I can see, right? And I want this to represent my text, so I'm just going to say I want a text here, center it. You don't even need to center it and all that, but if you are used to that, you will just find yourself moving there. So I want a text here. After that, I would Alt and Shift in my Windows, or you Control D and then you move this element. So I want a search input here, right? I want a search input here, and then I'll also duplicate this besides it and say I want a button here. My search input is here, my button is here to filter the property, right? So remember, we are creating a home page for a property app, a rental app, right? So I want, after this, I want the title of the page. I want users to be able to search for the property. I want users to be able to filter the property. And what else? The main body, I want property cards, right? So I'm still going to duplicate this and use as my property card. So I want cards to be here. I want 2 cards per row, right? So I'm just going to duplicate this. You see, I'm not using auto layouts, but they are snapping. So I just want something like this, and I'll select the both of them and duplicate. So I want the cards to be here. I want the cards to just come down like this, right? So this gives me like a general overview, and what I will need a navigation here, right? So I'm going to create a frame that has a white fill. I'll put it here, put the frame here, and then right, so it gives me an idea, an illusion of this bottom. And then what do I want? I can pick any of these and say I want my bottom navigation items here, so they're going to be 4. So I might have home, I might have profile, I might have settings, I might have favorite, message, or whatever. So with this alone, we are almost good to go, right? Are we good to go? Let me move this up somewhat. So you see that I'm not bothered with the alignment. I'm not really bothered with the alignment. I just want to have a general idea of the home page. So this is a low fidelity wireframe. Yeah, this is a low fidelity wireframe. With this now, I'm done for this home page. I have the title, I have what is it called, I have my search here, I have my button to filter. Okay, I've not added a profile. I need a square. I use the ellipse, hold down shift and then create a square here for my profile picture. Give it the same color. Yeah, so this is fine by me. This is my home page. This is the structure which I want it to be. So if we want to move this now to high fidelity, if this is okay, what's the next step? It says apply grid and spacing system. So how you apply grid is this: when you click on the frame, you go to your layout grid, you click this, and then you come to this grid drop down and say I want column, right? How many numbers? I want 4. Let me bring this up so you see. I want 4, right? Grids are just guidelines. They just help you for guidelines, right? So I want 4 columns. I want the margin to be 20. Now notice the margin is this space from here to the edge, to the boundary. I want it to be 20, and gutter is what you have in between. Let's say I want the gutter to be 16. Should we do margin 16? So let's do margin 16. Let's do margin 16 here because I want the cards to be big, right? So it says apply grid and spacing system. So once I've done this, we've applied grid, right? So this grid will help us. And now the spacing system, I want these guys to be well, so I need to use auto layout for this to have the spacing system, right? Now they are in auto layout, but I want this to be at the middle, so I will duplicate this. You see the trick I'll do now? Duplicate this to this place, touch this parent, and then bring it to the middle. Now I will shift this. So there's a way it's either you shift this to this grid here. So this is your grid system, but I don't want this guy here, so I'll select it and then I'll just hide it. Appearance 0. So I've hidden that guy, right? So it means I have this and I have this. So what is this size of this? Let's be accurate now. I want it to be 32, right? So okay, I want this to be auto. You see it's not reaching the end, but I want it to be, I want to apply auto to the spacing so that there will be evenly spaced, right? So this is at the end, this is at the end, and then this is at the middle of it, right? So I'm done with that.